Good morning, and welcome to Seattle Atheist Church. Atheist, agnostic, skeptic, whatever you call yourself, you are welcome here. At Seattle Atheist Church, we call ourselves an atheist church because you will never hear anything supernatural promoted from the podium. Our church is founded on the principles of scientific naturalism and secular ethics. We attempt to be excellent to all conscious beings, and we believe in good, because good works in non-mysterious ways. If that sounds right to you, then you are probably in the right place. So welcome. The way that we do it is that the members ourselves give the talk, and we consider sort of the main meat of the church experience to be our discussions that we have afterwards. We get into circle and discuss afterwards. I want to invite you to a couple of things if you're new here. First Friday of the month, we have movie night. I forget which movie is the one that's coming up next. I think it's the second of the Robert Reich books, documentaries. And then we also have second Sunday of the month, we have board games at the Wayward Coffee House on 65th and Roosevelt after church. So you are invited to both of those things. We are supported through donations. The donations only go to renting the room, and you can access a link off of Meetup if you want to give a donation for that. So, Rick, please come on up.
Hey, thank you everybody for being here. The topic of my talk is what is the meaning of life for atheists? And I should tell you what inspired this mostly was I was talking to someone I know who's religious, and the question came about, how do you answer that if you're asked what's the meaning of life? And he had an answer immediately. His answer was to serve God. He had it down to 3 words right there. And when I tried to respond on behalf of atheists, I didn't have a good answer. My answer kind of rambled on this and that. It was not very specific. And so I thought, I've got to research this and figure out just how good of an answer could I come up with. And I started asking around other people and see what came back, and they were, like me, they had rambling answers that weren't very specific. And I started seeing the different responses in several, what I thought were categories, so I kind of grouped those, and I rounded up a few quotes. I'll read over those, and then I'm going to try to pull from that what I think might be an answer and propose that, and that'll be our topic for our discussion, see how much of a condensed answer. I don't think we can get it down to 3 words, but I think maybe we can kind of format it a little bit. But to get out of the way, that joke from that book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I asked some people, what's the meaning of life? And they say 42. So if you know that book, you know that. That's not actually the meaning of life. That's the big question of life, the universe, and everything. So that's a different topic. That's for another talk. And I also, just to clarify, this talk is not like a big historical review of all the philosophers and what they think about the meaning of life. It's going to focus specifically on from the perspective of atheists. How do they respond to that question? And to avoid any getting trapped in semantics, I've had people say, well, when you say meaning, what do you mean by meaning? So I'm going to try to avoid that and just say the general sense. Meaning, purpose, just kind of group that together in the general way. Those are fun. Okay, let me start with some quotes. I did some roundup into different categories. To me, it looked like the quotes kind of fell into these about 4 or 5 categories. One is to dismiss it and say it's a bad question, it's not relevant. Another is to say something that to me sounded like just a feel-good statement, like live life to the fullest or something. It didn't really, for me, answer it. Another was to be very self-focused, to say, live life as strong as you can or something like that. And then another was to joke about it, to dismiss it and, it means whatever you want it to mean. And then the last category that I like the best is the serious ones, where they seem like they really tried to kind of put an answer on it. Some quotes that I found that came back with, if you know who the author Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth and The Hero's Journey, and his is in that first category. I thought he starts out with life has no meaning. Each of us has meaning, and we bring it to life. And we bring that meaning to life. Let me put my glasses on. It's a waste of time to be asking the question when you are the answer. And so I feel like that one kind of, it's in that category of dismiss the question or have a sort of feel-good response. Another quote, Albert Camus, you will never live if you are looking for the meaning of life. And so that one kind of, I guess that one kind of dismisses it or says it's not a relevant question. let's see, Jean-Paul Sartre, am I saying that right?
Sartre.
Life has no meaning the moment you lose the illusion of being eternal. And boy, that one brings back some memories of when I was younger and began to think about these big things. And then I found a quote from Albert Einstein, which kind of spins these a little bit. He says, the man who regards his own life and that of his fellow creatures as meaningless is not merely unfortunate, but almost disqualified for life. So I thought that was kind of a fun rebuttal to those. In the category that I'm calling the sort of feel-good responses, one from Kurt Vonnegut's, I think it's in Sirens of Titan. Everyone now knows how to find the meaning of life within himself. And I think that's good. It feels good, but it doesn't really answer for me. And then to pick on somebody from showbiz, Alan Alda, who was also the host for Scientific American Frontiers TV show. And I found a quote from him that said, "The meaning of life is life." Well, that's a pretty good one for it feels good, and that's about it. It doesn't really answer beyond that. Then the ones that I would call self-focused, and I found one from Michael Shermer, who's Skeptic Magazine. And his is also one of those, I think it kind of goes on for a long time. It doesn't condense it down. But he starts out with, play hard, work hard, love hard. The bottom line for me is to live life to the fullest in the here and now instead of a hope for hereafter. And that one, it made me, and I'll come to this a little bit later, it made me think about if it's too, what I would call self-focused, it plays up to that sort of sad stereotype that, some people have morals, but the atheists, they don't. They're self-focused, they don't have that. And so let me get back to that. But he then goes on to say, and make every day count in some meaningful way and do something, no matter how small it is, to make the world a better place. And so then it became not self-focused, but more focused into giving back. And that reminded me of that initial to serve God, to serve, to give back, to do something. So I'm going to factor that in here in a minute, too, for my proposal for what our big answer might be. And then another is in the category of comedy. And rather than the 42 joke, I found one from the Monty Python movie, The Meaning of Life, which is a pretty good movie. And it goes, try and be nice to people, avoid eating fat, read a good book every now and then, get some walking in, and try to live together in peace and harmony with people of all creeds and nations. And I thought maybe that's the best one I've found so far. It's kind of interesting that if you want an answer to something, ask a comedian. They're pretty good at it, like cutting right to the bottom line. And then the last category I found that I'm calling the serious ones. Another quote from Einstein, man can find meaning in life, short and perilous as it is, only through devoting himself to society. And there's that serving, giving back thing. And then from Leo Tolstoy, the sole meaning of life is to serve humanity. And from Aristotle, what is the essence of life? To serve others and to do good. So these are starting to feel better. I'm starting to find something there. Looking around in other areas, not just about the big topic of the meaning of life, but where are other places in life where you have to sort of clarify and nail down a statement about a meaning? And some I was aware of, in business, you have to have some sort of mission statement. In your education, if you go to grad school, you may need to have a statement of purpose or something like that. And then a lot of people in their daily life, they kind of have a sort of little mission statement, like you go to work to support your family. So, but then those, they begin to sound a bit like a pledge or a promise or something, and that's a little different. You say, I intend to do this, I have a direction to do this. That's not the same as answering what is the meaning of it. So I'm trying to focus on, rather than say what you'd like to do, what you intend to do, what is the meaning, what's the reason behind something. And I think also a couple reasons why would you want to have an answer? Why not leave it open, ambiguous? Same reason you have like a mission statement in business. It helps you to avoid the stress of ambiguity. It helps you avoid the time and energy wasted drifting and not knowing, what are you doing? And I felt that way in that a book that inspired me. Some of the answers people offered, they were vague. They left you just drifting, just live life. It has no meaning. I thought it's good to have a focus. It's good to have something you're kind of aimed at and working toward if you can. Another angle that I thought would work if you were coming at it from the atheist perspective is you're aware of science, you're aware of things like evolution, and that's a factor. If you think in terms of that, if you think in terms of people coming out of evolution, things result from that, like your you're not a totally solitary person. You're somebody who exists in a cooperative community, you exist in tribes and groups, and you learn to work together. Part of it, you learn, you reason. Part of it is you're built that way. And so that's a factor. There's a little bit of a direction there. There's a little bit of a purpose in helping your team, giving back. That could factor into any answer you offer. And some things are the way you care for offspring, the way you help your community to survive, the way adults help to train and guide the younger generation, the way that you accumulate and build up things over time to pass down to generations through learning, knowledge, and civilization. And so we've got that. We've got sort of the biological side, the reasoning side, several different things here converging. I feel like I'm getting closer. I'm about ready to propose some kind of an answer. And here I might go into a little bit of a detour on the morals thing. I think that's a factor too. And this is sort of my reasoning here, my theoretical, but because we exist in teams, we exist in groups that have to work together to survive, rules arise out of that, and maybe it's sort of my theory here, maybe as we got smarter and our brains got more clever and thinking faster, the rules had to get bigger to compensate for that. And maybe that's where the idea of a higher level overseer, very important rules, and the promise of a big reward or a big punishment in the end, maybe that's where those come in. And so maybe we shouldn't, if you're an atheist, maybe you shouldn't slam religion so much. Maybe we kind of needed those rules to help us get through and help us grow and become what we were. But now in the modern world, maybe with our new knowledge, maybe things are changing. Maybe we don't need this idea of the big ultimate payoff at the end. Maybe we need a different way to base our morals. And I think that's part of the stigma that's sometimes aimed at atheists. Oh, the morals come from religion. Religion owns morals. And if you don't have that, where do you get your morals from? So I wonder if there's a way we could factor in real world-based morals and somehow include that in this meaning of life statement and help steer it away from the idea, oh, just live for yourself. We don't want to follow that stereotype too much. So some things I'm thinking is set rules based on what a higher power says, or punishments and rewards and a promised hereafter. The rules would be based on observable results, what we know works and helps the community. And the rewards and punishments would be based on things that exist in the community, not the promises of terrible punishment later or some great reward later. So it would still be morals, they're just based on the real world rather than the spirit world. And let's see here. In regard to the moral thing, I was trying to think of what are some other ways to kind of leverage that so let's fight that stereotype. The issue of do you do good? Why? Like, why would you do something to be helpful or to your community? Are you the kind of person who, for example, would you steal if nobody was watching? So, well, if you need someone to be watching over you, then since your morals are coerced, you're being pushed into them. But if nobody's overseeing, nobody's watching, and you still do good, then your morals are more real world based. You care about that other person in your community. You don't want to steal from them because you don't want to hurt a fellow person. I'm thinking that could somehow factor in. Back to that original statement of to serve God, it might go back more to serve your community, to help the other people that are like you. Maybe we can phrase our answer to the big question with that. And a few other things to factor in back to the theory that I was calling self-focused is some of the things about appreciating, when you have more of a science-based understanding, appreciating the strange cosmic luck that led us to be here. I know some of the quotes in that book I looked at, they brought that up about what a remarkable, strange, almost funny coincidence it is that we get this chance of, and some appreciation of that might factor in, recognizing the fragility of it and the temporariness of it, feeling grateful about that you get this life at all, and then sympathy and compassion for others to realize how fragile and temporary their lives are. Have a sympathy for that. Express that in our meaning of life. Factor that in somehow. And just to sum up, I think the purpose of this talk is a little bit of a request. I want to try to encourage, when we have our discussion afterward, try to propose, actually take a run at it and see if you can answer what is the meaning of life for an atheist based on some of these things I have, or if you think maybe the question it's not a relevant question, say why. Say why maybe it doesn't make sense. just to quickly review some of the key points. One might be just, you might say things like to serve and help the community, family, to survive and thrive. Another thing might be for real world results and for reasons. Another might be because we feel it. That could be, thank you to evolution, that may result in people feeling a compulsion to help, whether it's offspring or the community. And then last, because of rational compassion, because we've reasoned why you should care and help and support the community. And so my challenge is then to the room, see if you can take all that, squeeze it together, answer what's the meaning of life for atheists, and maybe try to get it down to like 10 words or less. See if you can do that. So that's my talk.